What is up, everybody? Welcome to episode 41 of the Go with Elmo podcast. We are on our way to episode 50. Thank you for being here with us. We hope you're loving it. So we're going to try something new today. We're going to do a compilation episode answering one very important question that you know I love to ask. How did you get the gig? So in this, we're going to go through some great interviews from the Go with Elmo pod archive and just take the answers to those questions. So we're going to talk about how Stanley Randolph got the gig with Stevie Wonder, how Nicole Row got the gig with Incubus, how DARU Jones got the gig with Jack White, how Isaiah Sharkey got the gig with D'Angelo, how Larnell Lewis got the gig with Snarky Puppy, and how Mark Guiliana got the gig with David Bowie. So we hope you enjoyed this compilation. Let us know what you think about this format. If you like these things, we could try them. If you don't like them, we'll stop doing it. So you talk to us, let us know, but we want to see how it feels and what you think. So for episode 41, our very first Go compilation with the answers of how I got the gig. If you're watching us on YouTube, please subscribe, leave comments. If you're listening on Spotify, Apple, or anywhere else, please follow us and leave us a review. That would help us greatly. We do this show for free and for fun. We love it and we love you. We hope this gives you a lot of answers and some knowledge and inspires you on your day and your journey through the music industry. So much love. Let's go.
Go. Let's go.
How did you get the gig with Stevie Wonder?
You know, it's really a shout out to Teddy Campbell and Chris Johnson, both of those dudes, because they were the ones holding down that seat for some years before I came along. So it's really from them, man. I got a phone call and to show up to a studio. I thought it was for something else. I thought it was for like to listen to some music or possibly just do a session real quick. And I was just chilling in the lobby and these double doors opened up and Stevie Wonder walked through and he was walking alone. He wasn't walking with anyone.
Really?
So people think he can see. But I know he can't see. I know. No, but I even at that moment thought, man, maybe this dude can see. Maybe this is all just like a gimmick. You know, all these years is he, you know, has people thinking that he can't see. But
Did he have a walking stick?
No.
He was just walking alone?
Yeah, walking alone. But it's his studio as well. So
he just knows it inside out?
Yeah. You know, he knows it. But he also does that a lot, so that the sound of that making the noise bounces off the wall. So I guess he can tell where he is.
Wow.
But yeah, he walked through the door, surprised the shit out of me.
Yeah.
And he went to the back of his studio. I was just still chilling in the lobby. Chris was there. Chris came and got me, and we went to the back. We just jammed for like an hour or two, bro. And his studio.
Just you and him duo?
Yeah.
Really?
Just jam, bro.
So the first time. So you saw him walk into the studio, he went to the back. So
Yeah.
then what? You walked into the studio and just sat at the drums. You say hi to him? Like, what do you?
Well, I walked into the studio. Chris introduced me to him. And you know, like, man, so many people do this. Like, you know, when you greet somebody, you kind of just stick your hand out there and you're thinking that he's going to grab it because he can, but it's like, no, he can't see. So I had to put my hand in his hand, you know.
Oh, you just went and grabbed his hand.
Yeah, I had to. So he can know I was there. But
Yeah.
We basically, you know, he talked to me a little bit and then he had so many kits to choose from, bro. His studio.
All set up?
Yeah. Set up and ready to go.
He drums too?
Yeah. You got keyboards, pianos, Rhodes, guitars, all this shit's hooked up and ready to go. Ready to be recorded. So I just got on one of the kits, which was an old Yamaha kit. It was that old gray pastel color. And they told me the heads haven't been changed since like late 70s.
No way.
The heads, perfect. It was old vintage Remo.
Wow.
You know, with the dirt on it. And the tape
on
it, you know what I'm saying? It was.
You just sat on it and it was ready to go. Yeah.
And it sounded like the record, bro. It was the record, bro.
Which then made you play a certain way.
You know? For sure. I was like, wow, this is an old-ass Ludwig snare. Just old shit, man.
So did you start playing a beat and then he jumped in, or was he already playing something?
Well, he was already sitting at the piano, man. So he told me to sit down and I kind of just like tapped the drums to see what they sound like. And I was blown away. And then he started playing Giant Steps.
Wow.
Yep.
Really?
Yep. He started playing Giant Steps. We played that joint for a good 30 minutes.
No way.
Yep. Giant Steps. And I remember him having 2 big ass ride cymbals, one big 22 ride Crash Zildjian and a big 24-inch ride Sabian.
Is this like a normal like record tempo of Giant Steps, or is this a funkier Giant Steps?
It was his vibe for sure.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because even with him, man, he can take it in any tempo. Like with me being with him over the years, it's like we played it in any tempo.
Yeah.
You know, that was one of his I think it was a challenge for him. From what like some of the guys who've been around him forever, they told me that he's always played that song like that's his thing. If you want to challenge him or, you know, saying be competitive, he's gonna play Giant Steps.
And he started with it.
Yes,
he started with the competition.
He started with that.
You wanted to see if you can hang on that
for sure,
because that's not your normal groove.
It's not. And honestly, it was like kind of like one of my well, no, I take that back. When I was living in Memphis, we used to shed to Giant Steps.
Really?
Yep.
So you were like, oh, I'm so comfortable in
yes,
this. I know
used
exactly
to shed
what
to Giant
to do.
Steps, bro. So like, there's even old videos on YouTube of me playing Giant Steps, you know, with the homies in the church.
Wow.
Definitely, bro. So we was doing that back then. So you know,
okay, so you played a 30-minute version of Giant Steps with Stevie Wonder as your first time. You and him a duo.
Yes.
Man, I wish I could be a fly on the wall for that. And then what?
And then he told me, he was like, you know what, man, you got great groove, you got the gig. Then that's it. He had his engineer to give me an iPod. I still have the iPod to this day with all of his songs on there. It had to be something like anywhere between 300 to 400 songs on there, bro. And he said, learn as much as you can. We go on tour in 2 weeks.
No way.
Yep.
And were you like, hell yeah?
Honestly, bro. And I know this is going to sound crazy, but I didn't grow up on Stevie Wonder, man.
Really?
No.
Even being from Memphis and everything?
No, I didn't.
Like
I knew the typical songs that everybody knows, like Superstition, Happy Birthday. I Just Called to Say I Love You. You know, I knew those records.
You knew the hits.
The hits.
Yeah.
But Brandon, my brother, he was a Stevie Wonder fanatic. So much to the point to where it used to get on my nerves. Every time I get in the car with him, he literally had this is back when they had CDs. So he had the CD book. It had every Stevie Wonder album that he's ever done, every single, all on CDs. So like, you know, he played a lot of Stevie Wonder's music. And what's crazy is he would play the stuff so much. I wasn't really like paying attention.
Yeah.
I knew it was great. It was great music, you know, but I wasn't paying attention. I was more I was heavily on Dave Weckl and Vinny and Steve Gadd and stuff like that.
You were deep in the fusion.
You know what I'm saying? I was deep in the
fusion.
I
remember
into that, bro. So like I wasn't really listening to soul and funk and stuff like, and even my mom, bro. Like my mom listened to Anita Baker and Toni Braxton and people like that. So we didn't have any Stevie Wonder music in the crib. So yeah, when I got the gig, I called Brandon ASAP and was like, bro, I just, and people are gonna be like, surprised, but I wasn't like blown away. I was just like, man, okay, I got all this music to learn.
I got to go to work.
I know this is a great gig to have, and like my brother would be shitting bricks right now if he knew what I was doing, So, I hit up Brandon ASAP and was like, bro, I need your help. Like, I just need you to walk me through. And I know you play this music all the time, and I should have been listening, paying attention, but I wasn't. But I need you to walk me through it right now.
Yeah.
Like, like the whole vibe, and I got the gig, so I need help learning this stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, I remember I went on a tour and I didn't know everything, but what's crazy is even on the DVD, a lot of those records we play, bro, once I really, really understood what seat I was in and I went back to listen to the originals, luckily some of the patterns I played were, 90% right.
Just by intuition?
By intuition, bro. And I really think it's from me sitting in the car with my brother and subconsciously taking that music in.
100%. All those years. Yeah. So, luckily, because on the DVD, that was probably like my first month there. Literally, we had just started the tour and went straight to London and recorded a DVD. So you mean to tell me that when you played the first show and you play Superstition in front of the crowd with Stevie, that it didn't like hit you in the face?
Well, to be honest, not 100%.
Wow.
I was more nervous because he was actually the first biggest audience that I ever been in front of.
Right.
So I was more like, I don't want to fuck up.
I gotta get this.
Yeah, I can't don't fuck up. Like, dude, you know what I'm saying? One thing that he told me too before we really kind of like really got the tour going because he knew I didn't know everything. He could tell. He knew I didn't know all the patterns the right way.
Yeah.
And I was kind of thrown in the fire. So, the main thing he told me was like, yo, play this shit. If you play it wrong, play it loud and wrong.
Nice.
You know what I'm saying?
Nice.
Be confident. Play it loud and wrong. If you know what I'm saying, we'll get there. We'll rehearse eventually because there was no rehearsals.
No rehearsals.
No rehearsals.
You went straight into the show.
Straight into the show.
Headlining set. What?
Yes.
90-minute or whatever.
Oh, 3 hours.
3 hour headline show. No rehearsal.
Yeah, because he has
Stevie Wonder, biggest crowd you've ever played in front of.
Yes, bro. My first show was in Atlanta, Georgia. Atlanta, Georgia, bro. Straight in. No rehearsals. He was just like, play it.
No
just,
click track.
No click. All live.
Yeah.
No click at all. Which is crazy too because, you have such a huge stage with so many people that's dependent on you to be their timekeeper. So
yeah, and a percussionist to lock with.
Exactly, right.
Yeah.
And they're kind of close, but they're kind of not, because the stage is so big and they have huge rigs. So like, Fausto's way over here and Myungo's way over there, you know what I'm saying?
So you did sound check.
Yeah.
And to get your ears right.
Yeah, I got my ears right. You know what I'm saying?
And that's it.
And he didn't go over any music in sound check because, sound check for him is a writing session.
Oh, he likes going?
So imagine, we have sound check. It probably started 4 p.m. We'll go from 4 to 7, like a 3-hour sound check. We'll have like an hour and a half break. And then the show is starting around 8:30. And
that sound check is you guys improvising?
Improvising, bro. He's writing new records right on the spot. Or he could have been in the car, vibing to something or, anything that he wrote in the studio. And he comes to sound check and he's going to start playing it. And he's going to start giving people parts. Play this part, play this, play this. He's going to write a song on the spot. I mean, we wrote a song. There's a song we performed on the DVD at the very, very, very end, the very last song, I think. He had just wrote that song that day. And we performed it on the DVD that night.
Wow, dude.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, man.
That's so cool. So do you realize that you have one of the greatest gigs in the world?
I do now.
Yeah.
And, I'm not going to lie. It took some years. Because even being a drummer, I wasn't one of those dudes that was like all crazy about endorsements and all of that stuff, Like I played Pearl drums growing up all my life. That's the only kid I've ever played. So when I got the Pearl endorsement, I really didn't even know what I had then. I was just like, yo, I need a kit for this. Stevie's going here. I need a kit for this. Stevie's going here. So, I wasn't really into the business side of it, like, what I could do and how I could, take advantage of, my whole career as a drummer. So,
right.
I wasn't just like really, really blown away. I knew it was a blessing. Yeah. I knew it was, it was greatness for me to be on the stage and in the room with these people, or even be in relationships with certain people. But I wasn't fully aware. I was more in awe of just like, I was happy that we left Memphis, and moved to LA because I just knew at Memphis we hit a ceiling. We was doing all the gigs there, we was doing all the work there, and we just hit a ceiling. So we came to visit LA. And that was my first time really being in awe because literally the day we came to visit in LA it was in July of 2006. We came to visit LA, came here with a church. And we were staying in Santa Monica, We was like, we want to find something to do. We went walking on the Third Promenade?
Yeah, 3rd Street.
3rd Street, yeah. So we went walking and there's this club. I can't remember the name of the club that's over there. Dang. But anyway, walked into the club, and freaking Victor Wooten, Jerry Brown, Ricky Lawson.
No way.
Like all these dudes are just chilling here in this club, just playing like it's
on 3rd Street Promenade.
3rd Street
16
Promenade.
years ago.
Yeah.
Wow, I don't know what club that was.
Harvell's.
Oh, Harvell's.
Harvell's. It just came to me, bro. Harvell's.
Small spot,
bro.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
So, and we were underage.
What?
We were underage, We had some per diem money from the gig, and we slid our per diem money to the security guard. We was like, we're not gonna drink. We heard
these cats play.
But we heard great music, and Brandon called it. Brandon was like, that's Victor Wooten, bro. I can hear him. I know it. And we went to the joint, and dude wouldn't let us in. We gave him our per diem money.
Wasn't Brandon studying with Victor or something?
Yeah, he
then?
did. He did.
I remember when I met you guys.
He did.
It was like when the three of you ended up at my house that night on your first week in LA.
Yeah, yeah.
I remember being introduced to Brandon as like, oh yeah, he's learning from Victor Wooten.
Yeah. He was going to, Victor Wooten used to have those camps out in the woods. He would take all his students out there in the woods and they would meditate and become one with the bass, one with the wood and the trees and the grass and all that shit. So,
man, so you were just like, okay. So how long now have you had the Stevie Wonder gig? What year was that? If you came here in 2006.
7.
In 2007, you got Stevie.
2007 we moved here.
Oh, 2007 you
Stevie,
came. Sorry, excuse me.
Probably like around 2009.
Like 2 years later.
Yeah.
Wow. Mm-hmm. You had Boyz II Men first?
Yeah. I got Boyz II Men like 3-4 months living here.
So how did you get the gig with Incubus?
A DM.
No way.
Yeah.
From who?
Well, apparently Mike, the guitar player, sent me a DM, but it went to my requests and I didn't see it. And then some videographer, photographer, Jules, who's like mutual friends with both of us, reached out and was like, they're trying to contact you. And
you missed the DM.
I missed that. Isn't that terrifying? That's so scary. Can you imagine if I found it like a month later when they were already out with somebody else? It would have been like, fuck. But yeah.
So they sent you a DM just being like, what's up? What did the DM say?
Just, would you be interested in doing this? Like
straight to the point.
Yeah. Or just, we're looking for somebody for this. Like, do you want to like meet up and like just get to know each other? I guess their bass player had recommended me for the gig.
Oh, okay. So, that's nice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Amazing.
I was like, holy shit.
That is the best way.
Yeah. Yeah.
If the instrument that you are going to be playing, if that person is like, hey, this person could play my parts really well.
It warmed my heart.
That's so great.
Yeah.
It immediately gets rid of any like awkwardness or how does this feel when it's like, oh, it came from this person. You're like, oh, amazing.
Yeah. Well, honestly, he and I have very different, in my opinion, like on the gig for the songs, different sounds.
Yeah.
He's much more not confident, but confident with the like bright drives and aggressive distortions and things like that, and plays with a pick, which is not really where I come from. So it's I think he just felt confident that I could come in and do. They do a lot of like improvising and stuff like that. So I'm assuming, hopefully, that's what he was talking about.
So fun, you get to improvise.
Yeah. Nothing is really scripted at all. I mean, we have the songs, but we're all like getting to look around at each other and be like, okay, we're going to stop here and let the crowd sing this moment, which I miss that sometimes on a lot of big like touring acts where everything is like exactly the same every night. And you kind of, coming from like local gig territory where everyone's looking at each other and communicating very actively, you kind of lose some of that sometimes. Yeah. Yeah.
So Mike sends you a DM, you miss it, a mutual friend hits you up like they're trying to get a hold of you.
Yeah.
Then I'm like, what?
Then Jules, my friend who connected us, gave Mike my number. And then we started texting. And this is all happening as I'm like walking out of my final show with Panic, hopping onto a plane and going home. And I'm just, we had been celebrating the night before and I haven't slept and I'm like changing time zones. And I'm super confused, right? I can't like really understand what's happening. And I'm texting him. I'm like, yeah, I'm really excited about this, but like, can we just talk tomorrow? I gotta sleep. Like I'm destroyed. And he had no idea. Like he thought I was just at home chilling. So he was like very confused. So when we put it together, he was laughing. He's like, this is so, it felt like almost very meant to be of like me walking away from my final gig with Panic being finished for good. And yeah.
Did you even get to the point of being concerned or wondering like, oh man, what am I going to do next? Like the Panic at the Disco door is closing, like this journey's ending. Or like before you even had those thoughts, you immediately all of a sudden get the Incubus opportunity?
Yeah, I don't think I really got to get to the point of Panic being over and like coping with, I was more in the place of like, I don't not want to see my family, these Panic guys, I want to be able to hang out with them and, spend time. And we always had tour to assume that was going to happen. But now I'm like, oh shit, all these bonds I've created.
Yeah.
But as far as like the work, I hadn't really gotten to that place.
Man. That's awesome.
Yeah,
awesome
I
they've
got
never even-
fucking lucky.
Like, you got so lucky.
Yes, I did.
It is awesome that it's kind of a reward for closing a door, because I think a lot of it's really hard to close a door.
Yeah,
Whatever it may be in life, you kind
course.
of want to keep it cracked open.
Yeah.
You want to have your foot still
Those
in. It's like
memories.
maybe something else. Whatever
Yeah.
it is. But it was like, whether it's your decision or not, that door was closing.
Yeah.
And the universe rewarded you immediately as your the final day with Panic. The final day with Panic, you talk to Incubus.
Yeah. My mom says I'm a master. What do you call it? How am I forgetting the word? I say it all the
Manifester?
time. Manifester.
Yeah.
Yeah. My mom loves me.
That's amazing.
Okay.
So you're just like, Incubus, someone call me.
Yeah. Please, God, give me a gig.
Nostalgic gig. Nostalgic legendary gig, please. That's so fun. I'm so happy for you.
Thank you. I'm very grateful.
Yeah. So, I mean, that must have been exciting to now you've done the first 3 shows. I mean, yeah. How does it feel playing these songs? What was your favorite song to play? What did the audience feel like? Like
My set list that I created on my notes just says, I live in a constant state of nostalgia. That's like the title of the note. Yeah. So it feels like that on stage. I'm just kind of like looking around and like watching the crowd sing all the songs. And I'm like, I'd also be there, you know?
for sure.
Yeah.
What was it like? Let's go to rehearsal before we go to the show. So the first time you're playing these bass lines that you've been listening to for so long.
I mean, the first time we did it, I flew out just to like meet them and see if we all wanted to do this together.
Yep.
And what did we play? Like Wish You Were Here, Drive, Stellar, I think are the 3 that we just kind of jammed through. Cause I'm like, I think I know these, you know?
Pretty sure they're just completely
They were
burned into
too.
my brain.
Yeah. It was like, you know, when you're looking around for cues, it was just like, I, you know, didn't have to. It was just like, I know this in my bones. But yeah, we just kind of did a jam. The drummer wasn't, you know, they're so casual. So it was just me, the guitar player, and the DJ keyboard player. And we just kind of felt it out.
So fun.
Yeah.
And then you were like, this is nice.
This is really great. Yeah.
Okay, so then you take stage.
Yeah. Oh, well, then we did a bunch of rehearsal after that, of course.
Right.
And the set list the song list was pretty, it's like 35 tunes.
Yeah.
Just to like have stuff in our back pocket, you know, to change set list for like a festival versus like a headline show.
Yeah.
So we did a lot of material. Some things like we played through, you know, they'd be like, maybe we're going to play this at some point. And then we'd play through it like twice. And that's, you know, just maybe locked and loaded. I don't know, you know, but yeah. And then we just did our first 3 shows, home shows, you know, like an hour and a half away.
Yeah.
So lots of like friends and family coming out, and yeah, it was fun.
So fun.
So different from like any other gig for sure.
What about the first time you had Brendan Boyd's voice in your ears? You're like, can I get more of?
Yeah, when I got to sing with him for the first, like doing any harmonies with him, it's like, oh my God. It's like in the car. My favorite song as of right now, it feels like an ego trip to say this, but it's not, I promise. Karma Come Back is like, it starts with bass. Yeah. You know?
Just like, yes!
And it's just like a groovy bass line.
Yeah.
That one is my favorite right now. But then there's like the ones that are the more like stimulating, like I have to be really on and like it's fast and we get to improvise and there's wild different sections and like Sick Sad is one of my other ones that I'm really like just trying to perfect all the time.
What was song 1 on stage? What would you guys open?
What was it? Oh, Karma Come Back, which
really?
It was so funny because somebody, I think it was Chris, was like, yeah, I'm feeling a little jittery, like nervous. And I looked at him like, you're nervous? This is my first show and I start the show bass only. Like, you can go fuck yourself. And at the sound check for that, the guitar player looks at me and he goes, hey, Nicole, it's a little different than that. It's actually this. And he like, you know, made it very particular. Like it's exactly this. Like I want it just like this. And I'm like, okay, don't like telling myself, if you fuck this up, Nicole, you're fired from yourself. I'm going to be so pissed.
So you started, you're nervous as hell.
It went great.
Crowd is screaming.
It was a bass line I love.
Yeah.
So it was easy and fun.
Amazing.
Yeah, and it was
Band comes in, you're just like, yes.
oh my God, I did it. Yeah.
Oh my God, I'm in Incubus.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm in Incubus.
So funny. Yeah, I feel like being such an empathetic, like I just want to like mother everyone all the time. So I feel like that's what I'm trying to do when I'm on stage. So sometimes I'm like, I just want everyone to feel good. Like, does everybody feel the pocket?
Yeah, how do you play motherly bass? What's maternal bass?
I don't know, but it's the way I feel.
You're like playing, do you need something?
Yes, it's like that.
Yeah.
It's like that. Like I feel like it makes me want to hear like everyone a little bit more clearly and pay attention.
What do you want to document to your future self before you get used to it? Because you get used to everything. Everyone knows this.
The stress of a new gig, learning all the songs and, you know, being in like all my stuff, like my home right now is up in the woods. So I'm just here like living out of a suitcase with like minimal gear, you know?
Yeah.
And all of that was kind of like a stressor and kind of overwhelming. But at the same time, it's just looking back on it in a couple months, it's going to be the most wonderful. Like my 18-year-old self would have been like, yeah, that's the goal. That's literally the dream that you've been trying to make happen for yourself.
Yes.
Cabin in the woods, staying in an Airbnb, living out of a suitcase, playing with Incubus. So yeah, I guess
You're doing it.
be in it.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
Be in it.
Yeah.
Enjoy the moment. Stay present.
Yeah.
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 A good lifelong advice for always to yourself and to everyone.
Yeah. We move pretty quickly. It's really hard to
Yeah.
really absorb stuff in the moment.
But I don't think people realize, of course, your peers will, people that are also
Yeah.
instrumentalists, freelance musicians making their income touring.
Yeah.
Like that is you're putting your life, you're risking everything always, right? You're kind of always like, okay, great, I'm in Panic at the Disco, but
Yeah.
this could end
Yeah.
as it did, right?
Yes.
Can
Yeah.
end any day now. And as a freelance musician, you always have to have the next gig lined up or hope that you do, or you're always kind of looking.
Yeah.
So people don't realize, especially the general, just like a follower, fan, someone that enjoys you, that's not like in the industry, doesn't realize the risk and the sacrifice and the feeling of uncertainty that musicians can have, right?
I have this conversation a lot because different people, like musicians and people, have such a different perspective on that. Like what you're talking about of like, you know, being in the band, depending on what background you had to get to that place. Some people are like, why are you, you know, wearing yourself out or keeping yourself so busy, you know, outside of this project? You don't need to be. Look what you have.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then you have the other people like me who have just been gunning it since day one, trying to get there, you know, who are like, I've been in and out of so many things. Like I see it happening all the time to me. So I'm always prepared for something to not be, you know, I feel like it's assume that it won't be permanent.
Yeah.
And if it is, great.
Yep.
You know, but yeah, it's also what makes it so fun, you know, because I don't really like to know where I'm going to be in a couple of years. Like, I guess that feels like a boring existence, just like predictability.
Yeah.
That's not really what I've ever been looking for.
Well, great.
Well, you chose the right career.
Yeah. Perfect for you.
Will I have money? Will I not? Who knows?
When I recorded the music with Jack White in Nashville, it was through a RZA cancellation. I originally got flown out to Nashville to record with Jack and RZA from Wu-Tang Clan.
Yeah.
And RZA canceled at the last second. So, you know, Jack felt bad and he was like, I don't want to send you back to New York.
Hold on 1 second to take a step back. So before we go into Jack White and RZA not showing up and then you just doing a solo session with Jack White, how the fuck? How'd you even end up in that room? How'd you get with Jack White to even get into that room with was supposed to be him and RZA?
Yeah, so I met Jack White through Black Milk.
Yep.
So I was Black Milk's touring and recording drummer at the time, and Jack White had started doing these two song singles with people that that he was a fan of, and Jack White got a hold of Black Milk's music, and I think it's like one of the tracks that Black Milk have on this project is album of the year. That's the name of the project. It's a song called Deadly Medley, and it's had a rock guitar sample. It features Royce 5'9". Shout out to the D fam. if I'm not mistaken, I think Jack White heard that track and got excited, and he invited Black Milk to come to Nashville to record, also do a performance at Third Man Records. Now, by me being in Black Milk's touring band, I gotta give Black his flowers, because he didn't have to bring me to Nashville. Because Jack, Jack is a drummer already, but he was like, I think Jack offered to use Nashville musicians, but Black was like, no, I got my own guy. So so Black brought me, Ab, and also Malik, who was playing in his tour band. We went to Nashville. Crazy story. During that time when I was playing with Black Milk, I was also playing with Talib Kweli, a Brooklyn rapper. I also was, I was rotating Black Milk, Talib Kweli, Ski Beats, who produced Reasonable Doubt. Just amazing producer, a good friend. He's done a lot of hit records. Also Jay-Z Joplin. So my calendar was booked 6 months to a year in advance.
Yeah.
I missed the beginning part of that session because I did a show with Talib Kweli. And so by me not making it, Jack ended up playing on the first track.
Wow.
Jack played on the first track, and then I got there to play it on the second track, which ended up being the single. The second track was Brain. That ended up being the second single. I mean, the first single. And shout out to Advanced Power. I saw them cut tape for the first time.
That's awesome.
We did like a 10-minute jam, and they cut it down to like 3 or 4 minutes. And I saw Vance. They listed a whole. It was crazy. But anyway,
that's awesome.
The second day outside of the session, we had a performance at Jack White's Third Man, which is, if you've never been to that place, it's a record store. They have a green screen performance room. It's super killing. So we performed in Jack White's in that room, the Blue Room, and there's a song that we play called "Losing Out," where I take a drum solo. That song comes, I do the drum solo. I heard somebody go, "Yeah!" And the next day, I went back to New York. Our DJ at the time, Bill Sharp, he said that was Jack White. Jack White had got excited after you did that drum solo. Like a week or two later, somebody from his team reached out to me, and it was like, "Man, Jack is doing a collaboration with RZA, and he wants you to come down."
Sick.
To want me to come down. So I went to Nashville. I was excited because RZA is one of my heroes as being producer for Wu-Tang Clan hits. And so I was like, yeah, dope. I get to go here. So I made it to Nashville, got excited, got right to the studio, and Jack left. I guess he got the phone call. He was like, right before we was about to start, he left out to get the phone call. And when he came back in the room, he, had his not head down, but he was just like, not in good spirits. Just like, man, I'm sorry to tell you about RZA canceled. It was me in that session, little Jack, LJ from that plays with Jack other projects.
Yep.
And so Jack was like, man, I don't want to send you back to New York, but I got a couple solo songs I've been working on. So we worked for 2 days just recording solo material.
Wow. We
did like 4 tracks in 2 days, and the rest of that year goes by. And at the end of 2011, I was like, man, I wonder whatever happened to that music. And then I get an email from Jack's team that he was inquiring about my availability for like 8 months. And I'm like, I was like, well, and I told his team, I was like, well, I got a couple tours I'm trying to decide on what I want to do, because Talib Kweli had just released a record called Gutter Rainbows, which I played on one of the tracks, and Talib was, scheduling a tour, and then Black Milk had a tour that he was scheduling at the same time.
Yeah.
And I was just trying to pick which one.
What's going to happen?
To make a long story short, I mentioned that to Jack's team, and then Jack emailed me personally, and he was like, "Those songs you played on are going to be on my solo record Blunderbuss that's coming out. I have this vision of touring with 2 bands of everybody that was involved in the project." So originally, the female band, a lot of them played on the record. Yeah. And I played on the record. So he just had this vision of doing the 2 bands. Nice. So that's how that happened.
Wow.
I'm a loyal person, so I almost didn't even do it.
Right.
My loyalty to Black Milk. But my girlfriend at the time in New York, she was like, yo, what are you doing?
Do the Jack White gig, bro.
It's a lot of factors that played into how that happened. And, I don't have to, share it on this podcast. But anyway, I ended up doing the Jack White tour. And the crazy thing was we had to like go off radar. So while we were rehearsing, people were like, I wasn't doing any Talib Kweli shows or Black Milk shows. The first time they saw me play again was on SNL. Yeah. 2012. and I think it was in March, and then I was like, that's where DARU went.
That's awesome.
So the secret, came out.
Yeah.
So we both bands played, a song apiece on SNL, and I've always wanted to play on that show. So it was a blessing, to be able to do that. So the cancellation,
Wow.
the risk of cancellation turned into being a blessing for my career.
Yeah.
And I feel like, as if you pay your dues and you keep working, opportunities will come. And I just believe the creator, has something bigger in store that I didn't even realize that was going to.
It led to you being on the actual Jack White album and then doing the tour. And then, now you've done multiple tours with Jack. Here we are in 2024. It's awesome.
Thank you.
And it's so cool. You on that gig is amazing, bro.
Man,
it's so cool.
It's crazy.
I'm sure he loves having you on the gig. Bro, it seems like he feeds off your energy so much, or you guys feed together.
I appreciate it. I was a little not nervous, but I was a little like, man, because he's a dope drummer.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, what do I do? And normally, because I would get hired to do MD, music director jobs, one of the reputations I was able to make for myself was people like, DARU, he pays attention to detail. If you give him your music, he's going to learn it just like the record. So when I would hire guys, I would make sure. So I built up that reputation. So when it came to getting the opportunity, I was like, okay, I know I need to learn all the Meg Wright beats. You know what I'm saying? And as y'all know, she's not the most technical drummer, but I love what she did. Like it's super killing. Like I feel like it reminds me of hip hop, like Dilla meets rock and roll, but stuff is killing. So, just learning the catalog, I was like, okay, I want to learn how to play these beats.
Yeah.
Like that's on the record. But when our first rehearsal, Jack was like, yo, I don't even want to play the music like we did it.
Yeah.
Because when we were playing the White Stripe stuff, it was just 2-piece.
Yeah.
But our band was a 5-piece. So we had to figure out how to add other musical elements to just a 2-piece equation.
For sure.
So I made the decision of sticking with the original beats that Meg played because I know that's what the audience want to see.
Yeah, for sure.
When you go to them concerts, they don't want to hear,
those are parts that everyone knows.
Seven Nation Army.
Yeah, exactly. They're just like, keep it. Dun, dun, dun. Has Meg White seen you play with Jack White?
I don't know, but I would love to meet her one day.
Oh, you haven't met her?
I haven't even met her, but I'm definitely a fan. I would say those first couple tours that I did with Jack, the Blunderbuss tour and the Lazzarato tour, which I played on that track, I was super, I played the beats, but then I found a way to bring my own sauce in. You know what I'm saying? And the last tour that we did, I made it a conscious effort to stick with trying to play the original pockets.
Yes.
Like those albums, and also bring in some flavors, but not as much.
For sure.
Those first couple tours, I was just kind of like, I was wilding out. I was playing it, but I was like really, sometimes not even, I was like playing a different, not time signature, but against it, what I do when I'm playing with the DJ. But yeah, I respect Jack because obviously he was like, I brought you in because I want you to bring your world to what I'm doing. So that don't happen every day.
Yes.
That does not happen every day. When
Absolutely.
you get a job, most of the time, like a regular 9 to 5, you're there. The boss got the vision, and you're there to do whatever their mission is, and just help their ship or whatever they got going on. But Jack was like, I feel like he wanted me to bring because of what I've done in the hip hop community, and he's a hip hop dude. We had the same taste of music. I know there's some stuff that happened, but Jack is a hip hop head. We like Wu-Tang, Tribe Called Quest. Yeah. We're listening to that stuff before we go on stage.
Nice. I love that.
So I'm just grateful that I was able to be myself.
Yeah.
And bring all of the things that inspire me to that stage. And I feel like rock and roll music is an expression. You can really, let out all of the the anger or the
for sure.
Not
the
the
I
anger,
see
but
you.
the
I see
aggression.
you stand
it's
up.
like a workout.
You're getting like you're bringing the energy.
Thank you. I mean, shout out to Gene Krupa and those drummers that were very,
Yeah.
Had that showmanship, and I've learned that at a young age, and I wanted to become the drum. That's why I tell
Yeah.
people I become the drum.
Nice.
So when I'm doing that stuff, it's not a gimmick. It's like that's what I'm feeling at that moment, and I want the audience to feel.
Oh, it's happening.
To feel that.
We're definitely feeling it.
Thank you.
Meg White, reach out to us. Put in the comments what you think. What you think of DARU Jones on drums. I'm
come
sure.
on, Elmo. Come on the podcast.
Hey, Meg White, come through on the podcast. Let's talk all about it. I love it. I'm a fan. Let's go. How did you get the gig with D'Angelo?
I was doing a gospel session in Richmond, Virginia, back in probably like 2017, 2018. And in the gospel arena, they like to do a lot of, like, whenever they do a live recording, they tend to do a live DVD recording too, or at that time DVD. And so they wanted us to dress a certain way, but they told us what we had to wear, in the middle of the week during the rehearsal. So me and my guys, we were trying to find some place to get, some gear to wear. And so there was like a little strip mall and a clothing store, Walmart, and then like a mom and pop music store. And so being musicians, we're going to check out the music store first.
Of course.
So we go in the music store, we're messing around, and this guy walks out from the back of the store that, there was a door that had that said guitar lessons. So he walks out, it's a little heavy, and he had a guy walking with him carrying his case. And I said, I'm being, jokester. I'm like, it's a fake ass D'Angelo.
Oh, God.
Who's this guy look-alike cat? Now, I didn't study into, at the time, I didn't study in Google like D'Angelo, but I knew all the records and I knew who played on what, so I didn't know he was from Richmond. So I'm like, wait a minute, he looks a lot like him. So I went out of the store and I said, I don't mean to bother you. Are you D'Angelo? He's like, yeah. He was hesitant. He's like, yeah, I am. And I told him I knew Spanky. And I told him I, love his music, obviously. Thank you for your music. And that was it.
Yeah.
And he was like, I was just thinking about Spanky in the store, and, man, I was taking lessons in the back, and I was talking about him, and I felt like I felt his presence or his spirit, because he had passed on by then.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like, but I heard some guitar playing, and it reminded me of him. Was that you playing in the store? I said, yeah. We go back in the store, and I started playing. He's like, give me your number.
No way.
And then he got my number. Now, what's funny is he got the wrong number. He put the wrong number in his phone. And so I was like freaking out. Called my brothers like, yo, D'Angelo hit me. He wants me to, he wanted my number. I got home, maybe 2 weeks passed, nothing. And then I get a call from the store in Richmond, and they said that he came back to the store to get my number.
No way.
Yeah.
He really wanted to find you.
He came back to the store and asked for my number if somebody can get in touch with me. And so they got it. Somebody at the store knew somebody that was in the band, got my number, and then he called me and then asked me to be a part of his band. And that's how it started.
So you literally stumbled into D'Angelo's local music store
In Richmond,
Virginia, where he happened to be taking guitar lessons.
Yep.
And he heard you play, thought someone sounded like Spanky.
Yep.
Got your number, got it wrong, wanted to reach out to you so bad that he called the store to get, dude, that's fate.
Yeah, it is. It's divine because, even before that, I had met Spanky probably 3 years prior, and me and him hit it off really well. Like, there's a workshop in the gospel industry called the GMWA that happens in Texas most times. That year it did. And I ran into Spanky, and, me and Spanky ended up shedding together in his room.
It's awesome.
And very similar, tastes in music. And so we got really close. He ended up passing. Then a year later, that's when I met him.
Wow.
So it was just like, wow. It was like almost like a ushering in of something, or like a preparation.
Yeah. Energetically, handed it to you.
Yeah.
So D'Angelo calls you. What does he offer you? He
just mentioned a whole bunch of guitar players that he liked, and he said, "Yeah, well, you're my guitar player. I want you to play. I'm working on an album, and I want to eventually tour." And that's what happened.
And that was Black Messiah?
That was Black Messiah.
No way.
Yeah, I was about 19. Yeah, and we went in the studio maybe almost a year later. After that call, and we would check up on it here and there. We
almost
actually,
a year later.
Yeah, before I actually did the recording.
So over that year, did you see him at all?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
We talked. I saw him once. We ended up having another gig in Richmond, Virginia, doing a gospel quartet gig at a small storefront church, and it was fun. So we got a chance to jam and do
so cool.
Jackson Southern Airs mixed with like Fishbone arrangements that he put on. It was great. It's actually some of it on YouTube.
That's cool.
It's called the Soul Disciples, and then just under a year we went to the studio and started recording the studio. The song, the album.
That is
We
awesome.
started out with 3 songs. Yeah.
Wow, your life changed.
Oh man, it was beautiful, and
Yeah.
it was. I had a gig prior to that, and did some gigs. Like I was with the Isley Brothers before that, and that was like my official first R&B gig.
Yeah.
And then I ended up leaving there and did more sessions and stuff. But then that happened. It was like wow. But that's how, like you said earlier, that's how I got in contact with Pino. That's how I got in contact with Chris Dave. Thus, Robert Glasper. And it just kept going and going.
I mean, that's all of a sudden they became your peers immediately at
Yeah.
such a young age.
Mm-hmm.
That's you have such experienced musicians and artists surrounding you.
Yeah.
Like clearly your chops were there, and you had the mentality to be able to even vibe with D'Angelo on that level outside just your guitar chops, but you had the spirit on that level.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden that's your gig. That's so crazy. And you just it's like one of your dream gigs.
It's one of my dream gigs. Yeah.
You were prepped for it already. You spent years
just
prepping.
listening.
Yeah.
Just listening and vibing with the albums and stuff like that. And I had heard, Chris Dave on stuff, and I heard Pino on different things.
Yeah, yeah.
And then eventually through Chris, doing gigs with Chris, Robert Glasper came in the fold. And I was listening to Rob. I remember I used to play at jazz club when I was like 13, 14 years old.
Yeah.
And this guy, whose name is actually Christian McBride, but he's a sax player, he was like, yo, check this album out. And it was a burnt copy of In My Element by Ross, who was Robert Glasper.
Nice.
Just like, somebody else said.
Right. More recently.
You
didn't say who the F is.
I did not.
Yeah.
I did not. I said that after I listened to it. I'm like,
Yeah. I think it was more fair for you at the time to say.
yeah, I mean, because it was out of amazement. But
Yeah.
but I started transcribing his stuff on keys and stuff like
Nice.
that. So it was just like, even before that gig, you're right. It's just a lot of prepping.
Yeah.
It's a lot of prepping without even knowing.
Yeah.
The divine movement.
Because by the time, if you weren't 100% ready in that moment, when D'Angelo heard you playing from the other room, he wouldn't have resonated with you like that. Mm-hmm. So it's not this thing that you're like, oh, I can prepare in the future. It's like you were already there. He heard you and thought. Yeah. He had the thought immediately of, I want this guy with me. This could be the right guy for me.
Yeah. I think a person can accumulate so many chops.
Yeah.
But unless you have a spirit for it,
yeah.
The like-minded, you have to be like-minded. Like a lot of the artists aren't just like chop heavy or just like, accumulated knowledge and that's it.
Yeah.
There has to be a certain level of understanding and sensitivity with the music and dedication, not just musically.
Yep.
But with the spirit and the mind of it, not trying to get deep or anything, but just that. I think that's what people hear more so, because I didn't think I was like so ready, like, knew everything. I mean, 20 years old, 19 years old, so you still got a lot to learn. And I'm 33 now, and I got a lot to learn.
Yeah.
But just the spirit and the willingness to be open and sensitive enough to be able to learn and also hear and feel the intention behind the music. And I think
100%.
that's what I think people will feel that before the chops.
Yeah, amazing.
Especially artists like that,
So much feel.
Yeah.
Yeah, and especially how it sculpted you as you existed in it with them.
Mm-hmm.
Having that as your rhythm section with you and the artist and the vocal you're following and everything.
Yeah.
Like
talking about playing with an album. And then, you actually playing within it. It's a
But it's
whole
amazing
other
that you went straight to the record, making the record.
thing. Yeah, which a lot of times people don't get the opportunity. They just play for the artist.
You play for the artist, and then maybe you never get the call to do the record because you're thought of as the live person.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
But you going in and having to have a musical palette that you create on.
Yeah.
And the artists allow you to be creative.
Yeah.
They have a great idea in mind.
For sure.
And sometimes even specific lines and stuff like that. But them wanting to get your input and your feel on the album is super important. And I thought that was a tremendous blessing and opportunity to do that.
Yeah. So were you the humble kid in that room? Were you quiet? Were you just like I'm gonna soak this up and learn, or were you cocky, or were
Oh no, not cocky at all, man. I don't think I've ever gotten to the point where I was cocky. Because before every gig, I'm a little nervous.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And I'm hard on myself because I like to make sure that I'm more than on point. And you know, once I know all the technical parts of the music, now I want it to feel good. I want it to mean something.
Yeah.
And so I'm very, you know, hard and anal about that.
Yeah.
You know, personally, but
For sure.
I was like how I am now. I'm maybe a little more outspoken, but quiet, but a jokester.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like to joke around and have fun.
How did you get the gig with Snarky Puppy?
Okay, so we're talking about learning songs very quickly. So there's a venue. I don't know if you've been to Toronto much. Yeah, okay. So the venue downtown Toronto called the Rex.
Yep.
Okay, so Snarky had a gig there, and I also play with an amazing bassist named Rich Brown.
Okay.
We have a duo together. He plays in my band. I play in two of his projects.
Nice.
And the project at the time was called Rinse the Algorithm. And so Rinse, we had a show like once, like the last Saturday of every month. That just happened to be when Snarky was showing up. So Snarky did the 9:30, and then we did the after midnight.
Oh, okay.
Right? So they were there. It was 2 nights they did, showed up. When they were done, we invited the band up after our set to just play Teen Town. Right? Jam it out. Had a good time. I went back to the show next day just to chill and meet Sput. Short story, I just completely fanned out on Sput because for me, growing up on God's Property, growing up on like so many of these records, you know, Tony Out the Box, Kim Burrell live in concert, you know, and a bunch of other records as well. Finally getting a chance to meet Sput and talk to him in real time.
Oh, yeah.
And just say, you have no idea how much of an impact you made on my life. And to see him in person was just incredible. And so, you know, he's really gracious, allowed me to use whatever of his drum kit.
Yeah.
And so I saw them the next day. They said, hey, you want to sit in? I was like, sure. Do you know any of our songs? Not really, to like play it. Okay, we'll teach you one. So Mike, over the span of about a minute, explained the form of intelligent design. And it went kind of something like this. He's like, okay, there's an intro. The bass is playing these upbeats, you know, with chords. It's like a drum and bass thing. We go to like a Brazilian type slow thing in the bridge or chorus section. We pivot between the two of those. Couple of solos. We'll hand it over to you for the drum solo, right?
Yeah.
Start soft, explode. You could bring it back down because we're going to go right back to the head again really quietly. Eventually, we'll go back to that Brazilian feel thing. Then we're going to be really soft, go back to the main theme, ride that out, and then just like cut it off and allow the bass just to fade out with that particular upbeat pattern. Like, you got it? I'm like, yeah. Okay, we'll call you up. And so a couple songs.
And this is for you to sit on Sput's kit, not double drums.
No.
You sitting in on Sput's kit.
Me by myself.
Got it.
Right? So the keys for that were, one, retaining that information.
Right.
Two, looking at people in the eye.
Yeah.
Right? Being in the moment
Yeah.
and watching the cues, seeing, okay, they're kind of motioning, something's about to happen. And then other, you know, physical cues, like, okay, they're like relaxed. Okay, we got to, you know, pull it back a little bit, or just, and that was the biggest thing Sput told me after the fact. He said, you know, just the way that you follow the cues, the way you're looking at body language, the way your eyes up and just seeing what's happening and scanning the stage, that is a big part of your success with this band.
Amazing.
So, yeah.
And
then they would just come back to town. I would come and hang. You know, they would throw a couple songs at me on stage, and so I'd go back and learn the records just in case they called something I didn't really know that well. And then Sput needed a sub in Toronto.
there it is.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
that happened maybe about a year later.
And in Toronto.
Yeah.
Coincidental.
Totally worked out, right?
Yeah.
What was cool about that was I think I had to learn maybe like 22 songs in about 5 days. So I did a
And
list.
Snarky Puppy songs.
Right, at that. So I actually put
Yeah.
myself on a listening schedule. So I did, of the first 4 days, 3 days, I did 5 songs each day. And then the last day I did 7. And then on the 5th day, I did a test. So I had to look at the set list.
You're such an academic.
I
Oh
know.
My God.
So
That's
I
amazing,
looked
dude.
I looked at the list of songs. I had to be able to sing the intros, outros, melodies, bass lines, chord riffs,
at any special shots just by looking at the name on the song, on the list. And the rehearsal was me doing exactly that, sitting with Michael.
Yeah.
You know, we didn't actually rehearse. We just sat and he's like, okay, this tune, this tune, this tune. And I also cross-referenced with live footage that people were posting on YouTube, right? So between the YouTube,
you did your homework.
Oh man,
Wow.
that's the biggest thing for me, right? Like it's we're talking about bandwidth, and being in the moment. Bandwidth to me means like, can I handle, you know, how much can I handle? And I think if I'm doing that much homework consistently, I can continue to handle that kind of information.
Yeah, because your mind is strong. You're moving with it.
Yeah.
It's amazing. That's so then you did it. You did that show, and Michael was like, we're talking about Michael League, who is the founder of Snarky Puppy. Michael was like, do more shows with us, or did Sput need, like, when did it become like your gig?
Yeah. So basically, I did maybe 2 more concerts with them. I think there was like something in Montreal was the first out of Toronto thing I did. Then we came back to Toronto for something else. And they said, okay, we're going to book you for, I think it was like 2013, October, right? October 31st.
Yeah.
In Lausanne, Switzerland, right?
Nice.
That was the first tour date.
Nice.
However, what happened was, and I wasn't like a member of the band. I was just kind of subbing in because, like, you know, the core crew is like 20 some odd, but the family is like 40.
Right.
Right. So I get a call. Hey, can you fly out like now to Europe? We got a recording. And that was We Like It Here.
That's how it happened.
So once I did the recording session, Mike was like, you're in the family.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't care what you say. You're in the family. I was like, okay, cool. I'm down with being in the family. I like the family. The family. Yeah, the family.
Family. I like the
family. It's cool. So, you know, and then the relationship just continued to grow from there.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
And you did that same thing on the flight. You learned those songs. What were you learning? Because there wasn't drums on it, right? Or were there demo program drums? Or was it like...
So it's demo stuff. There was demo stuff. There was them actually playing in real time, depending on what it was. But I was just learning bass lines, chords, melodies, you
Very
know?
cool.
And then they had, you know, specific things. Like when I got in, Mike said, okay, this one is more metallic.
Yeah.
So think cymbals, think, you know, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
This one is more this one's more that. And just kind of had to attach any thoughts that I had or grooves that I had. And we did a 4-hour rehearsal before actually hitting.
Wow.
Yeah. It was
Which
a
is
long
like,
day.
Yeah, it's a long day. But at the same time, a 4-hour rehearsal in order to do a tracking session with Snarky Puppy is not that long. A single half day of rehearsing. Yeah.
And I got stuck at the airport. I couldn't find my driver that we had.
God.
So, and when I landed, there was another song in my inbox, which was The Sleeper.
And you had this one?
Yeah, exactly.
That's amazing. How did you get the gig with Bowie? What was it like working with Bowie? Let's talk for a minute.
Yeah. So let's see. It all started from his relationship with this woman named Maria Schneider, who's an amazing composer, arranger in New York. And she has this incredible, kind of like a big band, but it's not traditional jazz in any way. But he was a fan of hers. And I think he just approached her like, hey, could we want to work on something together? So they had this one song, and there was something in the song that reminded her of me or something. And she called me and said, hey, I'm working on the song with David Bowie. Would you want to do it? And I said, yes. And then so we did that one song. So it was me playing with her band. You know, we did a day at Avatar in New York, and he was there, and he was great. We did a couple rehearsals first. And
what was that like? Even there, like the initial meeting and collabing with him?
Oh, it was incredible. So, well, let's see. Okay, she brought him to the 55 bar to hear us, which is wild.
First,
so there's like,
before you met him.
Yeah.
So he got to see you play first.
Yeah. So
ideal situation. Yeah.
Well, that was the thing. It was like you're not wrong in that. It was like, because he hired us as a band.
Yeah.
It's Donnie McCaslin playing saxophone, Jason Lindner playing keys, Tim LaFave playing bass, and myself. We had been playing. We made a couple records under Donnie's name.
Yep.
I had been
Love those albums. Everyone listen to those.
Thank you. I had been playing with Jason and Tim in like different versions of beat music for years. So we all had a long relationship, and he hired us as a band. So yeah, you're correct in saying that like he was the new guy, which is kind of trippy, you know?
Amazing.
But yeah, that first track, because Donnie was in Maria's band. So those first rehearsals, what's that rehearsal space on like 27th Street? Euphoria. I don't know if you know, it's a normal little rehearsal space. And it was like David and Tony Visconti, who was producing the track. And then Maria was basically the rhythm section, and then like saxophone and trombone. Just to start, Maria hadn't yet done the full arrangement. So it was to like work out ideas. And he was just so kind, and it was quite normal and all these things. You know, he was there early and left late, and was like, hey, can you run that section again? I just want to record it so I could, you know, write to it at home or work on it at home. Just all about the music, you know, and super kind.
Wow.
And yeah, so that day in the studio was great. And then I think it was even Maria's idea. I think he wanted to do more stuff with her, and she said, you should just do a record with those guys. And I was like, okay. So he had reached out to Donnie. Donnie, you know, after they met at that session, he started sending him music, and then we started making the record. You know, that was at the Magic Shop in New York, which is now closed, but we did like 3 one-week sessions. And it was amazing. But yeah, he really encouraged us to like do our thing, and on several occasions would reference like, hey, I love on that beat music. You know, we made this weird record like 8 years ago, the Los Angeles Improvisations. Jeff Babco, Tim, myself, and Troy Ziegler, and we just improvised. And I
saw you do that at Blue Whale.
Okay, exactly. So he would reference that record. He'd be like, oh yeah, I really love what you did here. Maybe you could try stuff like that. It's like, oh my God, David Bowie's sitting at home like listening to this record, you know. So
many incredible things happening.
Yeah. So it was, it really felt super comfortable and intuitive. And I think, you know, some people were like, you know, many people were asking like, were you nervous? And it's like, maybe there were like flashes of that, but anytime there was a moment of like, holy shit, this is a David Bowie record, I would look out and it's like Tim, Jason, Tim telling some dumb joke to like, you know, and it's just like, oh, I'm with my homies.
It's your family.
Yeah. And then that's David Bowie over there.
And then the new guy.
Yeah.
He's doing pretty good.
But you know, I'm no expert on his career, but when you look back, like that's not, it's pretty consistent with like the Young Americans era. It's like hires this like sick band that's already kind of a community, and he inserts himself into that too, writes new songs and gives that thing, and then kind of the Let's Dance thing, and then the this and the, you know, when he would jump around, it would be, it's not so inconsistent with what we did. And I think the whole point, like Tony Visconti had a funny line that I read in an interview. He was like, yeah, our idea for this record was instead of hiring rock guys to play jazz, we hired some jazz guys to play rock. You know? And that's, you know, obviously oversimplified, but also that's kind of cool, you know?
Oh, it's so cool. And that must have felt so validating because he loves you for your creative self and your music.
It was a huge license. That also alleviated any pressure. It's like, no, just do your thing. It's
exactly.
Like, and he was like egging us on. I remember a couple times, you know, all the songs had demos with just like program parts. And I would try to be true to the demo, honor his ideas. And we would do a take and be like, okay, cool. But like, go. He even said one time, he was like, Mark, I know what you're capable of. You know, something like that.
Amazing.
So kind of like, literally, you know, egging us on and being like, no, go.
Do you?
Because that 55 bar gig was like, we were just throwing down, playing too loud and too much. And so that was really fun.
Amazing, dude.
Yeah.
Well, dude, what a blessing that you got to do that collaborate. That's like the collaboration of a lifetime, man.
It truly is. And I can like point so many relationships started from that record. I can very easily draw a line back to that record existing, that like a lot of so many things since have happened. So I'm forever grateful. For sure.
Go with Elmo. 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 This is the stuff, man.